In this video, we will be talking about the basics of flaring brake line or a fuel line or any kind of hard line for that matter. Your two basic flares that you'll run into in the automotive field is you have your double flare, which is made with this tool, or the bubble flare, which is made with this tool. Sometimes it can be combined into one tool, but in this case I have two. As you can see, the double flare is curved in and the bubble flare is curved out. Now every car has both kinds of flares. It just depends on if they're on the line or if they're on the brake hose or the wheel cylinder or the master cylinder or the ABS actuator or whatever it's on. Most typically what you will see is American cars will have double flares on the line and European cars will have bubble flares on the line. So it doesn't matter which flare is on which side as long as you have one of each. They are designed to fit together. So if you have a bubble flare in the master cylinder like this, you'll see a little cone shape on the inside of it, and that's what this fits into. If the master cylinder just has a smooth surface on the inside of the threads, you're going to use the bubble flare, so you can take one look and know what you need. In order to make these flares, first you have to identify what size line you have. This here is 3/16, and this is a 1/4. The easiest way to tell is hard lines are measured by the outside diameter. So you can take a 1/4 inch wrench, take the opened end. If it fits over this relatively easily and doesn't have any slop in it, you have a 1/4 inch line. If I had a wrench the size of 3/16, it'd be the same story. But you see that's too big, so we know this isn't a 1/4. We happen to know it's 3/16. So I'm going to start with the double flare. You take a bar like this. They do make hydraulic variants, but I will not be showing in this video. This tab right here is designed to be mounted in a vise. You do not have to use that, especially when you're fabricating lines under the car. You can't really use a vise there. So we have our 3/16, the 1/4, the 5/16, the 3/8, and half, each for different size flares. So since I have a 1/4 inch line, I'm going to use the 1/4 inch flare jaw. Next, you grab the corresponding insert for the particular flare that you want to do. In my case, 1/4 inch. This first lip right here, this section at the base where the circle is, that is designed that way as a measuring tool. So when you have this in the jaw, you want the line sticking out that much. A little bit further is usually what I go for. So now that we have this measured, we can go ahead and give this a tighten. Make sure the jaw is all squared up. And then I take a screwdriver. This is not the correct way to use this tool, but you have to. If you don't tighten these down with the extra help or a screwdriver, what will happen when you flare this is the tool will push it through the jaw, taking all these ribs right here with it. So you want to make sure this is actually tight. It's not so much of a problem with this copper stuff, but with steel lines, you'll absolutely ruin these little ribs, like I did to this one here. So now that we have this measured, we take this tool, flip it over, put this insert in the line just like that. Unscrew the yoke here all the way. And position it over the bar on here, and then put the cone on the inside of the cone of the insert piece. And once you have that centered and squared away, take this bar, install it into the threads here, and tighten until it bottoms out on the bar. There, it bottoms out. So we unscrew this just enough to remove the insert. We are done with the insert piece for this flare, so we'll go ahead and put it back. And this is where the name double flare comes from. So now we take this cone piece, line it up on the inside of that line, and tighten it down with a reasonable amount of force. And this is taking the end of the line, folding it out, and then curving it back in to create that cone shape. When you're done, you should have something that looks like that. Take the tool apart. Make sure to drop it. And now we have a nice flare that's ready for install. In real world, you'd put a flare nut on this, but for this example, I don't have one. Moving on to the bubble flare. We have the same principle here. We have a metric brake tool, so European stuff. You have 4.75 millimeters. This corresponds to 3/16 brake line. We have our 6 millimeter, which will correspond to the 1/4 inch brake line, which we'll be using in this example. 8 millimeter, which will be corresponding to the 5/16, and the 10 millimeter, which corresponds to the 3/8. There is none for the 1/2 inch line. Same process as before, just loosen this up, and you're going to install the line in the 6 millimeter spot of the bar. You'll notice it isn't exactly a nice fit, but it does work. So in this case, you want the end of the line to be level with this bar. And then same as before, tighten it down. So don't get this super tight, just till it bottoms out and quit. Then you'll grab the yoke tool here. This is set up for the 4.75 millimeter line, so we'll unscrew this from the tool and swap it out for the size that we need. And screw it back into place. Same thing as before, position the yoke over the bar and put the center piece. Make sure to put the center piece of this nub inside the line, which will keep it from collapsing in on itself, and then tighten it down until it bottoms out. Once it does, just unscrew it. Bubble flares are unlike double flares in effect that you only have to make one pass on them. This line is done. Open up the jaw, remove the line. Now I have a bubble flare and a double flare. If I had flare nuts on each of these, I could put them together like this and they would seal up and not have any leaks.